And finally, in terms of NUS is no platform policy and appeasement. I'm not sure there's a direct correlation there or contrast, but on the repressive tactics, again, the reason why I don't think that no platform policy is about stifling free speech or repressing the BNP is I'm not advocating that we steamroll over Nick Griffin, then reverse over him to make sure we've done the job properly, or go around and drag fascists out of their homes and club them like poor injured seals. What I am saying is that we have a choice, and it comes back to the question I posed in the opening remarks. We have a choice when we think about whether or not, how do we effectively tackle what the BNP stand for and prevent the threat that they pose to the freedoms that we enjoy in a country like this. I don't think that giving them a platform that we have a choice, we have a choice whether to do it or not. I don't think that choosing to give them a platform is the effective tactic. You could take Durham Union on tour, which is an interesting idea, and set up the debates around locally. I don't think that the NUS no platform policy extends to giving me, giving blessing to a tactic like that. I do think the question about were the BBC right to put it on question time is an interesting one. I do think that where parliamentary candidates are offered the opportunity to debate the BNP in Hustings debate locally, I know it's something they wrestle with, because you either don't turn up and give them a free platform, or you do turn up and take them on. And I think there's a much bigger question. But for me, the role and responsibility we have on campuses and the choice we have, whether it's a student union or a debating union, we should always choose not to give them a platform. It's my view personally, and it's the view that I'm mandated to offer professionally as well.
Hi, you've made much about the autonomy of these two officers and how they're responsible to their own individual campaigns. But as far as I know, they've done very little to actually come to Durham and find out what particular LGBT and black students actually feel. I mean, as the LGBT officer, the first thing I heard about this is when I read the email. And I've asked around, and while there are strong issues on this, the majority of LGBT students in Durham seem to feel that the BNP should have been allowed to debate and should have been shot down in flames in open debate. So it's just another example of the NUS not representing us, as we were discussing previously in the previous disaffiliation debate.
Right.
Here at Durham we have an extremely competent equality, racial diversity and the LGBT team, and we ourselves have organised award-winning charities such as Durham. We've liaised with other universities in the North East to carry on political campaigns, and since NUS has already folded on the top-up fees issue, and given the whole sort of debacle last week, I'd like to hear a reason to stay fully.
Right back. Okay.
I know that you don't know I know that you didn't read that letter before it went out, but those two members are part of a race relation committee. Did that committee even meet? Because if it didn't, it seems clear that this is their own personal vendetta and that they are personally affiliated to the UAF. The way that they mentioned it, why do you not want to, discipline them or say that you will force them to resign? Because if they're acting on their own, then they're acting on their own, then we perhaps need to take action as a university against them. Perhaps not through you. Will you defend them if we do that?
First of all, Nick, I think you're in the perfect position to hold your national officer to account within your campaign, and it does concern me that. I think that, because going back to the tension I talked about earlier, I could foresee circumstances, and in fact have done, whether it comes to an individual student's case on a kind of an academic or welfare issue or a more political issue. I have seen circumstances where the student union says one thing, but its LGBT group, for example, or something, says something else, and in that case I could understand why a national officer would say, but hold on, these people, the LGBT group at that university, they're my members, I must support them and speak for them. I think there's a stronger case. If it's the case that your national officer has acted in a way that is contrary to what the Students' Union wanted and what your group wanted, then I don't see the defence and justification for that so much actually. And I think you know, you've got the ability to hold. I mean, I can hold them into account in certain ways through the National Executive Council and through National Conference. You also have additional ways through the conference, the LGBT conference itself, and would, you know, if that's how your members feel locally, then I think you have a responsibility and opportunity to do that. And it does concern me that's the case here. Obviously, I don't know what the case for the Black Students campaign is. Oh yeah, sorry, yeah.
You can move it up a little bit, it's easier.
And as for did their committees meet and decide and see the letter before it went, I honestly don't know. I think, I don't know, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to go down the route of conjecture. I'm just going to stick to facts, otherwise I get in trouble. I don't know, and I'll find out, and I'm sure their committees will have something to say on the letter one way or another, which may be a stoic defence of their officers, it may be a reprimand, I don't know. I don't know their committees very well, but the final question is asking me to sort of defend NUS and what it's there for and what it does, given all of this. And I think, you know, I've seen what people have said on Facebook and sort of people raising the affiliation question again. I honestly think that to want to disaffiliate from NUS over one issue, however angry you are with two NUS officers, I think ultimately ends up being self-defeating because of and folding on top-up fees. I don't want to necessarily turn this debate into something else now, but I'm going to defend our position on that as well. At the end of the day, particularly at the moment, as I said earlier, there are going to be a whole host of issues, particularly in the coming weeks, the coming months and the coming years, which are going to have a direct impact on students at this university, and those decisions will be taken nationally. We've already seen funding cuts to universities being announced by the government, which will have a direct impact on the number of student places, on learning and teaching, on the bread and butter things that affect students at this university. You've also got, perversely, Vice-Chancellors, including yours, going round telling politicians and telling the fees review that universities like this are going to fall down in 6 months as a result of the cuts that have already taken place. In that context, be in no doubt whatsoever that there is an active agenda and a very powerful lobby of Vice-Chancellors that are working incredibly hard to influence the government's fees review, which will report conveniently on the other side of a general election, who are having teas and coffees and nice dinners and lunches with cabinet ministers and shadow ministers, trying to influence the agenda of whoever's in government next. The decisions that are taken at a national level have a direct impact on every student at this university, every other university and college, and people who will either get to where you are or will be denied the opportunity in the future. Given that, it is the responsibility and obligation of student unions as representative bodies to defend their members' interests, to ensure that every time a decision is taken that affects students, that we are there, we are in the room, we are trying to influence and we try and get the right outcome for students. There have been many cases where NUS has been successful in that. I gave the housing example of something we won just last week. Even when you take something which is considered as a huge defeat, like the 2004 Higher Education Act. I was a student at the time. Okay, I'll start right now. I was a student at the time. I was in the lobby. And, you know, we lost on the big picture, but we brought Tony Blair's government with a landslide majority, within a closer margin of defeat than even the lobby on the Iraq War. One of the things that we need to be clear about, whether it's locally or nationally, is that campaigning organisations, whatever the issue, find it incredibly tough to get what they want and to win on the issues. But the union that I lead and the union that you are part of is one that has throughout its history made massive impacts on student lives, okay, and it continues to do so. And as a result of the reforms that Durham's been part of and the policy agenda that Durham's been part of shaping, we are in a better position to do that now than ever before. So on that basis, by all means be angry with those two officers. We have, you know, I've come up here to listen to that, and I'll act on that and take it back. But I do think it would be really self-defeating if in the wake of that debate alone, not to mention everything else that's going to happen in the next year or two, for Durham to leave the NUS would be seen as a vote of no confidence in the entire thing. It would damage our ability. It would damage our ability to impact on students' lives. And you may say hear, hear, and you may clap but you will not be clapping when the disastrous consequences of decisions are taken because NUS was not able to impact on government decisions, whoever is in power. And that, I'm afraid, is nothing to clap or cheer about.